didn't want to review this movie. I really didn't want to have to do this. I was tired of talking about Joker. I was tired of talking about Todd Phillips. Just way outright, but I guess I gotta do this. Listen, man. Hey, man, today we're gonna have our little buddy, Rocko the Dinosaur, joining us for the review, man. So yeah, just you sit back and just enjoy the show, man. Yeah, we're gonna be talking about Joker too. He was a big pile of dog piss. You can see this, man. This is a good minifigure. I'd rather talk about the minifigure than the fucking new Joker movie. This minifigure is made of this minifigure has an artistic integrity. There's so much love and passion that went into this. Okay. Right. The chances of Todd Phillips making Kino are 1,000,000 to 1, he says. Okay, let's just bust out the spoiler warning right off the bat. Yeah, it's full spoilers. I'm going to get right into this movie. I don't care. I've not really written any notes for this. It's just going to be... I didn't want to spend too much time planning this out because I can't. I'm just bored of talking about Joker. I just did a 50-minute video on it. That's me done with it. But this new film has provided some interesting things to talk about when it comes to filmmaking, I guess. But still, I just can't be arsed, really. So yeah, just a ramble. This is going to be a ramble, a big ramble. What is it? Those videos where it's like an unbridled rage or an uninhibited rant, and it's just some guy like go run. Yeah. Before we begin, I just want to say I don't dislike this film because it tried to do something new. I don't dislike it because of the direction it went in. I don't mind something being subversive. I don't necessarily mind it critiquing the audience of the first movie and all the people who like that one. All the meta commentary, all that's not really the focal point of my grievances with this movie. See, I didn't like the first one, so I went into this with a different headspace to most people, I guess. To just simplify my problems with the first one, like my fundamental problems with it, it was just that it had insistent, overbearing, manipulative storytelling that was insisting upon the audience, like, this is really upsetting, this is really sad, this guy's life's really depressing, oh, be sad. Really over, and I know people say, oh, it's a comic book movie, so it's supposed to be hair cartoonish and over, but even for those standards, like, even if they didn't have that excuse of the comic book world, I think they still would have just employed all of those kind of annoying tactics. I just thought it was crappy, tropey, trite, unoriginal, too Hollywood. Yeah, I just didn't go for the first film. Joaquin Phoenix was decent in it, but yeah, I just didn't care for the first film. And the problem I had for most of the second film was that it didn't really learn from any of those mistakes. I mean, it probably didn't perceive any of those things I just mentioned as mistakes, because I'm the only one who really kind of thought those things, apparently. Well, I'm not the only one who thinks that way, but the filmmakers definitely do see that first film as a success, because it technically was. So they're not aiming to change any of these things that I don't like. They're going for the same tone. For the first hour or so of this sequel, I was just thinking, yeah, it's just committing the same sins as the first one again. It's like, it's nothing new to me. Bad overt dialogue that's campy even for a comic book tone and just isn't believable and is just manipulative. One-dimensional characters everywhere. Joaquin Phoenix trying his hardest to make a two-dimensional character three-dimensional. Then we meet Lady Gaga, and like the first film, all of the reasons to care about her are done through exposition, like, oh yeah, I've had it really rough and all that shit. Like, oh yeah, care about me please. This is my backstory, just exposition. There's literally nothing to the Lady Gaga Harley Quinn character. Like, she's so empty in this, just a random person who starts singing at random times. Brendan Fraser's in this, and he tries to make this sort of cartoonish character that he's playing a bit more believable because he's a good actor, but still it's just like, prison guards bad, institutionalized bullying or whatever the fuck. I don't take any of this film seriously when it's trying to tug at the heartstrings with this crappy music going, and it's still using that same shit. One of the big key changes, I don't know if it's a change, but like an addition in this new film is that it's a musical. There's a lot of like musical pieces in it. Moments where Joaquin Phoenix and Lady Gaga just start singing, and they both know how to sing. Obviously, Lady Gaga's a huge pop star, but Joaquin Phoenix, I believe, I don't know if this was the first time he ever sung, but he learned how to sing for the Walk the Line Johnny Cash biopic. He at least knew how to sing for that. So they both have experience singing. Regardless of that, I thought the musical numbers in this were really flat and uninspired. Definitely like well shot to an extent with nice lighting and cinematography, kind of. Mainly just good colour grading and decent production design, I'll give it that, and spotlights. But at some point, it's like, how many spotlights are we going to use? Every scene is the same. Every dance sequence is just the same. Like, spotlight, 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 over theatrical. There's no complexity to any of the choreography. There's no extravagant camera work. Like, I'm not expecting La La Land, but I did want it at least to try and be a glorious kind of musical. I have a soft spot for musicals, and I didn't vibe to any of these scenes. I was just like completely just uninterested. The musical cues came at random, arbitrary times. It honestly felt like it was just padding the runtime. I think they were supposed to like accentuate a scene or an idea or a certain plot beat each time, but really they just didn't come over well. They were laughable in how random and unnecessary they were. Let's just start singing randomly without any proper substantial character development, and it will immediately become profound and sad.
Is why all the girls in town follow you.
I don't know anything about Lady Gaga, but her singing was so flat in this. It was just like so mediocre. While another flat shot of the two of them singing and doing lightweight dance moves. It really doesn't help when you're not invested in any of the plot beats or any of the emotional beats, because these musical cues are supposed to like accentuate those emotions. Almost every time either Joaquin or Lady Gaga started to sing, I was just like, oh, for fuck's sake, this is just so stupid.
Just like me.
They just did not commit to the musical angle of the film. It's so half-arsed in my opinion. They're like the slow-motion dance sequences from the first film that were really pretentious, but even worse, like bolstered. Again, like the first film, decent cinematography, decent production design, decent costume design. That's about it, folks. Now, it sounds like I hated this film, and I didn't until something happened. How the fuck do I even explain this? I mean, people who've seen the film will know, but... So, I was watching the film, I was like, okay, this is committing all the same sins as the first one, and to me, I don't care about this. This is probably just going to be like another 5 out of 10 something, like just average, just mediocre. And then the film did something that was so unbelievably tasteless and insulting that this became like one of the worst films of the year, at least morally. Like, I was fucking livid walking out of this. I might be censoring this word out because, you know, demonetization or whatever, but this word, it rhymes with grape. It's an awful thing that rhymes with grape, and I'm sorry I have to censor it. It kind of like nullifies it in a way, kind of negates it, but yes, whatever. YouTube's a fucking piece of shit. So near the end of the film, Joker is prisoned by the guards. It is the most unearned, out of place scene I have ever seen in cinema. It's the most insulting scene I've ever seen in cinema. It's the movie desperately trying to elicit emotion from you via shock value. Oh, this is really horrible. Look what happened to him now. Like, Jesus, I didn't think you'd stoop that low, Todd. You're a fucking asshole, man. Fuck you. I heard you out, man. Wow, you dipshit. You fucking idiot. Oh my god, I was so pissed off, man. See, as at first I wasn't even sure if there had been a because like my friends were saying, no, it wasn't. You just got beaten up. But then I looked on IMDb afterwards, and in the parental guide it does say it was implied that he was strongly implied he was. So yeah, because these Joker films are all about like feel sorry for him and using just really sly manipulative tactics to do that, like just not trying to properly develop a character but just crudely and expediently hammer the audience over their head without any tactfulness. And this is just the penultimate worst version of that. This is just like the end point, like you've reached the lowest you can go, I guess. Yeah, Joker gets ripped. Great. Fucking hell. I could not fucking believe it. I couldn't fucking believe it. But using grape like that, just like a tool, just for a bit of shock value, just throwing it in there. A film has to earn the right to use something like that and do it properly and with care. And this film is just so far removed from any of that. Todd Phillips is a vacuous frat boy douchebag who shouldn't be anywhere near the craft of filmmaking. Fucking hell. This might sound harsh, but for the people who take that scene seriously, like, yeah, that's a valid scene, and don't see it for, like, the tasteless piece of shit that it is, your emotional maturity is in the shitter, and your opinion means nothing to me. Do better. It's disturbing enough seeing in a film where it's tastefully done, so to speak, but when it's done by such a jackass, so shoddily, it's of the craft of cinema, like, honestly. Without that scene, if the film hadn't stooped that low, it'd just be mediocre. I wouldn't really care that much for it. Like, whatever, didn't need to happen. Unnecessary sequel. But the fact that it did that, it pissed me off. It really got me. It's such a low thing to do. And this is all coming from someone who thinks Irreversible is a great movie. Like, fucking hell, you fucked up then. Yeah, closing comment on that. This grape is not something you can just use like a token almost, like a fucking novelty almost. This flimsy tool you just insert into a movie. Oh, fucking disgusted I am. I'm bloody disgusted. And right after that scene, there's another moment where a prisoner's beaten up. He's like gagged and like beaten down. And he's like, I can't breathe. And he ends up dying. He ends up suffocating. Do you see what it's going for? Do you see what it's drawing from? I mean, I might be overanalyzing, but I just thought this is trying to like parallel the George Floyd thing to convey this ridiculous point, this stupid point about institutionalized corruption or brutality or whatever. But it's a valid social comment to make, but doing it like this, again, a manipulative tug on the heartstrings by like referencing a real tragic event. Again, one of the most tasteless films I've ever seen. I never saw that fucking 9/11 movie with Robert Pattinson, so this one's number one. So yeah, that's why I hated this film, like, not because of the direction it went in, like it's not really the Joker, it's actually an anti-Joker film or whatever. But the things I criticise, there's no defending that. You can't just say, oh, well, it's actually a meta-commentary. Like, oh, great, it's a meta-commentary on the audience of the first one, but like that doesn't like stop that scene from being there, does it? And if you think that was justified, pull your head out your arse, Jesus Christ. And it's still got all of that useless filler where there's no sense of direction with just the two of them dancing and singing. It's still like awfully structured, so I don't care about a trite message about, oh, but incels, I'm really pissed off. So this is going to be a bit mean-spirited, but I'm so pissed off. Oh, I'm trying to compose myself. And of course, all the pseudo-intellectuals on Twitter are like, yeah, it's actually a deconstruction of the fan base. Like, shut the fuck up. Oh, the worst kinds of people. Oh, you missed the point. Those sort of moral grandstanders. Honestly, they ruin the fucking film discourse. I respect the stupid 15-year-old Sigma male demographic more than I do them. Sucking their own dicks because they understand basic meta commentary. Like, go fuck yourself. I need to calm down, but it's a wind up. This film is a wind up.
They long to be close to you.
One thing I liked, and I don't know how intentional this was or not, but there was a really funny bit where Joaquin Phoenix, the Joker, put on a like southern accent when he was doing the trial, like he started representing himself, and that was all so funny. When he was like, so your name is Puddles, is that correct? Puddles? Is that a real name? Like that was hilarious. It reminded me of like a really funny performance art bit that Sam Hyde might do. It was cool. But that was the only enjoyment I got from it, other than a few other like unintentionally comedic moments where Lady Gaga would start singing and I'll just start laughing because like, what the fuck? Also, Lady Gaga's got creative mode in this. She can go anywhere she wants. She can just walk into like maximum security prison and she's a fucking woman. Like, you do realise like men and women in these places are separate. Are they kept separate? Yeah, she can just go in, shag the Joker and be like, oh, I found a way in. The guards let me in. Like, that's not how prisons work, especially in like the 70s, 80s weird time period it's taking place in. But yeah, she's just fucking got creative mode. She can just walk into the courtroom, into the hallway, into like all the press, everything. Just stupid. It was so ridiculously unfeasible every time she showed up that I was like, oh, they're doing the whole like she's imaginary again. That's why she can just show up at random like that. But no, they didn't do that. Or maybe they did. Maybe there's a secret other message where it's actually all in the head again. Like, I don't care. Let's all pretend we're smart because we understood this terrible movie.
That's what we should be talking about.
I did like the idea of the new direction it went in. Like, on paper I did. It went for this sort of self-reflective, yeah, this isn't actually something to romanticize kind of message, because there was a certain population of the people who loved the first film who were like, yeah, violence is obviously justified. Like, I don't know how anyone would come to that conclusion, but whatever. Apparently Todd Phillips was all like worked up at the fact that there's certain people who were like, yeah, violence is cool, yay, thanks Todd. And he was like, you know what, I'm going to make the second film all about like how that's actually wrong. It's all the wrong. So it's a big critique of the fan base, and it's kind of saying that, yeah, this isn't actually the Joker. This is just a mentally ill person who's being taken advantage of by all of these various people who want him to be this revolution starter, this big anarchist guy. He's not really the Joker, really. That's the idea of the film. But with that first film, like, I didn't like it, but still, I appreciate that it was this morally grey story. You were supposed to empathise with someone who did horrific things. That's the whole point. That's one thing that this genre of character study cinema is supposed to do. The fact that this second film is almost acting as a disclaimer, like, it's not good, it's actually not good, just make sure we all know, we're all in agreement that it's not good, killing people isn't good, and the Joker isn't a good person. Like, that's not the point. We don't need to talk about that. We don't need to address that. It's a platitude. I'm sick of this demonisation of films that empathise with awful people. Like, at the end of the day, empathy is important, right? To be able to empathise with any human being is kind of a gift. It's kind of a beautiful thing. And film allows us to do that. But all of this Twitter shit mentality where it's like, piece of shit, good person, piece of shit. Like, no human can truly judge another. That's a good message to live by. I don't give a shit. I'll sympathise with people that are way worse than the fucking Joker. Casting an empathetic, sympathetic lens is a nuanced, risky take, but it doesn't mean that it's condoning any of the actions. Honestly, nuance is just dead. I don't mean to be too harsh on this film, because it is also a valid thing to sometimes critique fan bases who took the wrong message from a certain movie. Like, the direction this film took is valid for that. I don't think it was particularly well done. Most of this film isn't even in service of that theme. Again, it's just random musicals and stupid shit. There's not enough actual substance in this to justify a whole movie. So you get like 30 minutes worth of this sort of meta narrative and the rest of it's just fluff. It's just clunky, man. They go for this idea of the Joker having a split personality, which is completely thrown together. That was not at all a part of the first film. That just wasn't a thing. They completely just pulled that out of their asses. There's been good media that critiques itself on a meta level or critiques the audience. I think Twin Peaks does a lot of that, Twin Peaks Season 3. But this is just heavy-handed and kind of just, it's incel stuff. It's a hot topic issue. Like, you're doing this to actually send a positive message, a profound message, or you're doing it because incels is just a buzzword right now. That's all I think of when I hear the word incel. Incel this, incel that. Like, shut up. I don't care about incels. But also, Todd, sometimes you have people who misinterpret the meaning of a nuanced piece of art. Just suck it up. And as for these psychos that go around killing people because they saw a movie that inspired them to do that, that's on them. That murder is on them. If all it took for that person to commit murder was watching a fucking film, then that film is not the problem. Filmmakers should not be held at all accountable for stuff like that. It's tragic, but it's just, there are wackos out there. And to make them feel bad because of that is just, it's like a form of gaslighting. And when you do something like what Todd Phillips did with this film, where you double down on this, no, that's bad, don't do that, you almost legitimize these idiotic interpretations and you lower yourself down to their level. If there were people taking such insane messages from your film, then who gives a fuck? Ignore them. They aren't worth anyone's time. They aren't worth anyone's attention. Don't lower yourself down to their level by simplifying your vocabulary, by simplifying how you convey messages in cinema. Cinema should be nuanced, subtle, and clever. It shouldn't be catering to these fucking idiots. Also, the title's just super pretentious. Folie à deux. Oh, it's French. It's classy. Ooh, highbrow. Another thing about this, it's not okay to idolize the Joker narrative that it goes for, is that Joaquin Phoenix's character comes to like an enlightened conclusion at the end, which is kind of out of character. This guy is mentally ill. He wouldn't come to a conclusion, like a sane conclusion like that. Like, you know what? That wasn't good, guys. I'm sorry. You want to tell a message, but it's just betraying the logic of the character. The character doesn't need to know he's evil for the audience to understand that he's evil, so to speak. And bear in mind, the big thing that knocks him out of his head, kind of like, I'm the Joker, oh, I'm cool, whatever. The big thing that like makes him come to this realization is he gets and that demeans him and takes all of his confidence away. So if the positive message of this film is, yeah, Joker, you're not actually a good person, that's not good, and that revelation comes from that happening to him, then it kind of borders into the territory of justifying that abhorrent event. And that's another area where this place is muddled. Like, this guy is treated so poorly, he's so severely mentally ill, he can't be treated like a normal, rational thinker. He can't be held accountable in the same way that a normal person should be for the crimes that he committed. Like, this message of the institutions letting him down, like, I know it's cartoonishly and over the top, but in this universe, these institutions are horribly malevolent. They put the Joker through the shredder. He never gets the help that he needs. He shouldn't be in a shoddy, crude prison. But when it goes for that taking responsibility angle, it negates all of those factors. What are you going for? Like, I get just because society and the institutions are awful, that doesn't mean people should go around killing others. But come on, this guy was fucking let down. This guy should be protected. He's mentally ill. This guy did not get the help he needed. It was a failure on society's behalf. If you let your society rot in squalor, this is gonna happen.
If it was me dying on the sidewalk, you'd walk right over me. I pass you every day and you don't notice me.
Again, I'm not big on the first Joker film, but for the people who watched it and liked it and were angered by the state of affairs that the Joker was put through, rightfully so, you were justified in relating to this sense of vengeance that he wanted to wreak upon society and the people that had wronged him, so to speak. If you felt a cathartic sense of satisfaction from watching him shoot Robert De Niro in the head, that's okay. This is the point. It's morally grey. It's like addressing the shadow. It's dark stuff, yeah, but it's good for the soul. But no, let's just make a sequel where we negate all that, take all of the mystery and nuance away. It's a good thing that the incel got graped in the shower because he wouldn't have learned his lesson otherwise. Bro, Mad Eye Moody fucked the Joker out of Arthur Fleck. Like, I don't know about any of you, but I watched the first Joker film, I see Joaquin Phoenix's performance, and this guy is, like, mentally disabled. That's how severe his neurodivergency is, so to speak. It's not just that he's bummed out for a bit. He's got severe pathological conditions that need to be treated, but whatever. Is it... No, he's an incel. He's an incel. Another interpretation, like a more charitable interpretation of the film, would be, yeah, the film knows that he's mentally ill, but it's about how the people around him, the actual incels, so to speak, are taking advantage of him. And this mentally ill guy's just caught up in all of that and gets killed because of it. Yeah, Joker dies at the end of this. And it's kind of like a tragic thing there, and I kind of like that aspect. I like the idea of this not actually being the real Joker and just like a poor dude who's just, oh fuck, what have I got myself into? You know, maybe the message does actually hold some water, I don't know, you know, maybe it actually does, you know, it's all valid, but it kind of just all seems muddled to me. My grievances weren't with the message anyway, it was with the, you know, all the other stuff I've just gone over, well, at the start of the video, inclusion of a certain grape scene. Also, meta-commentary isn't as clever as you think it is, because everyone's doing it right now, it's like become a new trend, so... I'm not arsed. It was cool when David Lynch did it with Twin Peaks, but now it's just kind of fucking boring.
This film is actually a critique of the audience of the last film and how we all took the wrong message from it. It's so clever. It's so cool. And you gotta be in on the joke. It's always about being in on the joke. You're in on the joke. Are you in on this film? You have the media literacy to understand this complex film. It's like a fucking culty club. It's destroying film discourse. Piss off, fucking pseudo-intellectual Twitter loser nerds. I'll just end with this message. Art is for sympathising with the disturbed, not for shitting all over the people who sympathise with the disturbed. And remember to fucking subscribe. Anyway, apart from that, that's the end of that video. Oh, bloody hell, I got so pissed off during all that. Sorry though, I don't mean to be too mean-spirited. Anyway, I just want to forget that film. I really just didn't like it. I just thought it was super... I just thought it was nasty. I just thought it was a nasty movie. Just because of that one scene, really. Other than that, it would have been just mediocre. Special thanks to the patrons. Thank you, Matt Delaney. Thank you, Mason Lydon. Thank you, DF. You guys are awesome. Your contribution means the world. Thank you. Also, another thing, I don't usually like to make too many negative reviews in quick succession. I like to divide it up into talking about a good movie, talking about a bad movie. But we've just had Joker retrospective that I did, we've had Megalopolis, and we've had this Joker 2, and that's just like an unfortunate series of events because these are all things that I really wanted to talk about, and yeah, these are all things that I had negative opinions on, so that's just the case. I'll see what I can do with this in editing. I'll have to take out loads of bits of me just outright insulting Todd Phillips, but I don't want to be a mean-spirited, angry YouTuber, this is a rant, but I am just genuinely annoyed. I'm genuinely pissed off. I'm sorry. So much for keeping my composure. What a failure. Yeah, thanks for watching. Peace out. Don't be like Todd Phillips. Be a good person instead.
You having a wank? You having a wank? You having a wank?
The throat.
You having a wank? You having a wank?
You disgusting fat
You
fuck.
having a wank? You
Right
having a
by
wank?
the throat.
You having a wank?
Get off
You
the
having a
stage, you
wank?
disgusting fat fuck.
You having a wank? You having a